The chill of a late autumn morning clung to the streets like a heavy blanket. Kennedy pulled his hood tighter around his face, adjusting the frayed scarf he had bought from a thrift store the night before. His once polished shoes were scuffed and worn down, his jeans stained, and the old army jacket he wore smelled faintly of dust. In the reflection of the glass storefront beside him, he barely recognized himself. That was the point. Kennedy was not a man in need. He was a successful entrepreneur, a man whose investments had built schools, shelters, and startups across the country. But beneath his success lay a gnawing question that kept him up at night. How did institutions of those built to safeguard and survey treat people who had nothing? Was respect truly tied to appearance? Or was dignity something unconditional? To find out, he devised a test. That morning, disguised as homeless, Kennedy walked toward an elegant glass-fronted bank downtown. His breath fogged in the cold air as businessmen in tailored suits and women in pressed coats hurried past him without so much as a glance. He clutched a small notebook and a pen, props in his disguise, and approached the massive glass doors. Inside, the warmth hit him first, followed by the faint smell of polished wood and expensive perfume. A security guard eyed him immediately, his lips pressing into a thin line. Kennedy offered a small nod and walked to the reception desk, where a young woman with a tight bun glanced at him over the rim of her glasses. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice polite but clipped. Kennedy smiled gently. "Yes, ma'am. I'd like to open a checking account." Her eyes flicked down to his clothes, the torn cuff of his jacket, the dirt smudged on his shoes. Her professional smile wavered. "Do a broken bar have an appointment?" "No," Kennedy replied, keeping his tone steady. "But I have the required documents." He pulled from his pocket an envelope containing his ID, proof of residence, and even a starting deposit in cash, everything that would make him eligible. But the receptionist hesitated. She leaned toward her colleague, whispering something that Kennedy couldn't quite catch. Within moments, a bank manager, a tall man in a grey suit, approached. "Sir," the manager began, his voice carrying the weight of authority, "this might not be the right bank for you. We're a private institution. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable with the community credit union." Kennedy felt the sting of those words. He was being dismissed not because he lacked credentials, but because of how he looked. His jaw tightened, but he reminded himself to stay in character. "I'd still like to open an account," he said calmly. The manager's smile was thin and condescending. "I'm afraid we can't help you today. Maybe come back once your situation a broken bar improves." The rejection was clear. Kennedy nodded slowly, thanked them quietly, and walked out. But as the heavy glass doors closed behind him, a voice called out, "Sir, wait." He turned. It was a teller, a young woman with kind eyes who had watched everything unfold. She stepped outside, her coat barely buttoned against the wind. "I don't care what they said in there. If you have your paperwork, you're entitled to open an account. Everyone deserves dignity." Her voice trembled slightly, but there was steel behind it. Kennedy studied her for a moment. The compassion in her eyes was genuine. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice breaking character just a little. "What's your name?" "Maria," she replied. "I just a broken bar. I hate when people are judged by appearances. My father used to live on the streets before he got back on his feet. No one should be treated like less than human." Kennedy felt something shift in his chest. He reached into his bag and pulled out a second envelope, this one thick with documents that revealed his true identity. Maria's eyes widened as she realized who he was. "You were broken bar, you're Kennedy Jameson," she whispered. "Yes," he admitted, lowering his hood. "I came here today to test how this bank treats the most vulnerable." "And you, Maria, passed that test with more integrity than your entire management team." Tears welled in her eyes, both from shock and relief. "I just did what was right," she said. Kennedy smiled. "That's exactly why I want to do something for you." The next week, headlines spread across the city. Bank's CEO exposes discrimination in shocking social experiment. Kennedy had recorded the entire ordeal with hidden cameras, not to shame but to shed light. The bank's higher management scrambled to issue apologies, but Kennedy made it clear, this wasn't about punishment, it was about change. As for Maria, Kennedy personally funded her education in financial law and offered her a leadership position in his foundation, where she would help create programs ensuring fair treatment for underprivileged clients across banks nationwide. In the end, Kennedy's experiment revealed something powerful. Systems may fail, and prejudice may linger in the hearts of some, but it only takes one act of compassion, one person willing to stand up to remind the world what dignity truly means. And so, the story didn't just end with disbelief at what Kennedy discovered, it ended with hope. Because kindness, no matter how small, can change everything.